You are invisible because you look broke. And every single day the world punishes you for it. You stand in the same room as the man in the tailored suit. You have the same credentials. Maybe better, but he gets the table by the window. He gets the loan approved. He gets the benefit of the doubt. And you? You get suspicion. You get the hard no. You get treated like a risk, like a burden. You get treated like someone who needs to prove they deserve oxygen. This is not about fairness. This is about survival. And Machiavelli understood something that will shatter your illusions about merit, hard work, and justice. That he understood that in this world, perception is currency. The man who looks powerful is powerful. The man who looks wealthy is wealthy. Even when his pockets are empty. Even when his empire is smoke. You have been lied to. You were told that substance matters. That who you are on the inside will eventually shine through. But while you were being authentic and humble, the world gave everything to the man wearing the mask of success. You know it? You have watched it happen. And today I am going to show you the architecture of that mask. You have felt it in your bones. The sting of being overlooked while someone less competent, less intelligent, but better dressed walked through the door. Niccolò Machiavelli, the dark prophet of power, wrote not for the naive, but for princes who needed to survive in a world of wolves. And he gave them a truth so brutal that 5 centuries later, we still try to deny it. Men judge by the eye rather than by the hand. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few know what you are. Read that again. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few know what you are. This is not philosophy. This is the operating system. You are not judged by your character. You are judged by your presentation. The rich man walks into the bank and they smile. They offer him water. They call him sir. The poor man walks into the same bank and they watch him. They check his ID twice. They make him wait. Same bank. Same loan. Different costume. And the costume, my friend, is everything. Today we are going to dissect the illusion. We are going to examine the 4 dark laws. 4 dark laws that govern how the world treats you based solely on how rich you look. Not how rich you are. How rich you look. And I am going to teach you how to weaponize appearance the way Machiavelli taught princes. If you are exhausted from working twice as hard for half the respect, if you are done being invisible while frauds collect crowns, then do not look away. This might be the most dangerous knowledge you ever acquire. But be warned. Once you see the game, you cannot pretend it does not exist. Once you learn the language of appearances, you will never be able to unsee the theater. You will watch everyone around you performing, including yourself. Let me show you the mechanism. Why does this happen? Why does the world give everything to those who look like they already have everything? It is psychology. It is evolutionary. It is brutal. The human brain is lazy. It does not have time to investigate the truth of every person it encounters. So it uses heuristics, shortcuts, pattern recognition. And one of the oldest, deepest patterns is this. Wealth signals safety. Wealth signals competence. Wealth signals that others have already vetted this person and found them valuable. When you look rich, you are pre-approved by proxy. The world assumes that someone, somewhere, did the work of evaluating you. And they decided you were worth investing in. But when you look poor, you are guilty until proven innocent. You are a question mark. A risk. A potential liability. The world makes you earn every inch of respect. Every crumb of opportunity. You are an unverified entity. This is what I call the appearance tax. If you look broke, you pay a tax on every interaction. A tax of suspicion. A tax of extra scrutiny. A tax of closed doors. But if you look wealthy, you collect a dividend. A dividend of trust. A dividend of opportunity. A dividend of free gifts you never asked for. I'm going to show you the 4 laws that control this invisible economy. 4 laws Machiavelli would have carved into stone if he were building a kingdom today. Each law is more dangerous than the last. Each law will force you to see someone in your life, maybe even yourself, in a way that makes you uncomfortable. But discomfort is the price of sight. Law 1. The rich are presumed competent until proven otherwise. The poor are presumed incompetent until proven otherwise. Let me tell you about 2 men. Both walk into a business meeting. The first man wears a bespoke charcoal suit. Italian leather shoes. A watch that costs more than a used car. His hair is sharp. His posture is confident. He sits down and before he speaks a single word, the room is already listening. The second man wears a department store blazer. Scuffed shoes. A watch that tells time and nothing else. He sits down and the room is skeptical. They are waiting for him to prove he belongs there. Same room. Same meeting. Same idea to pitch. But one man has already won, and one man is climbing uphill in chains. You know this. You have lived this. Maybe you were the second man. Maybe you are the second man right now. And here is the cruelty. The first man can be average. He can be mediocre. He can stumble through his pitch. And they will forgive him. They will fill in the gaps with generosity. They will think he is having an off day. He is probably brilliant when he is at his best. But the second man? He must be flawless. One mistake and they write him off. One hesitation and they decide he does not have what it takes. The vulgar are always taken by appearances and by results. And the world is composed of the vulgar. Listen to what he is saying. The masses, the gatekeepers, the decision makers, they do not dig deep. They do not investigate your soul. They look at the surface and they make a judgment. And that judgment is final. The man who looks rich is given the benefit of competence. His words carry weight. His ideas are taken seriously. His mistakes are forgiven as anomalies. When you look wealthy, you trigger a cognitive bias called the halo effect. Your expensive appearance becomes a halo that shines on everything you do. They assume you are intelligent, hardworking, connected, trustworthy, even when you have proven none of those things. But when you look poor, you trigger the opposite. The horns effect. Your shabby appearance casts a shadow over everything you say and do. They assume you are careless, unreliable, desperate, even when you have proven the opposite. This is the first law, and it governs hiring decisions, business deals, romantic interest, social invitations, legal outcomes, medical treatment. Every interaction you have is filtered through this law. Think about the last time you were underestimated. The last time someone dismissed you before you even opened your mouth. Now ask yourself, what were you wearing? How did you look? You already know the answer. So what is the prescription? Simple, ruthless, strategic. You must control the first impression with surgical precision. Because once the judgment is made, it calcifies. Once they see you as small, it takes 10 times the energy to change their mind. But if you walk in looking like someone who has already won, they treat you like a winner before you prove anything. This is not about vanity. This is about warfare. The battlefield is perception. And you have been showing up unarmed. Law 2. Resources flow toward the appearance of abundance. Scarcity repels opportunity. Here is a paradox that will break your brain. The people who look like they need money the least are the ones who get offered money the most. The man who wears wealth like a second skin is the man banks want to lend to. Investors want to fund. Partners want to collaborate with. But the man who looks desperate? Who looks like he needs a break? He is invisible. He is a ghost. The world does not give to those who need. It gives to those who look like they do not need. Men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities that he who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived. Read between the lines. The appearance of abundance is a form of deception. But it is a deception the world is eager to believe. Because the world wants to back a winner. The world wants to invest in certainty. And the man who looks rich radiates certainty. Even if his account is empty. Even if he is 3 months behind on rent. His appearance says, I do not need your help. I am doing just fine. And paradoxically, that is when help floods in. You see this everywhere. The entrepreneur in the expensive co-working space gets approached. The entrepreneur working from a coffee shop in a stained hoodie is ignored. Same business plan. Same vision. Different costume. The woman who looks polished and expensive gets job offers she did not apply for. Headhunters call her. Opportunities find her. But the woman who looks tired, who looks like she is struggling, she sends 100 applications and hears nothing but silence. Why? Because humans are wired to avoid risk. And poverty looks like risk. It looks like chaos. It looks like something that might spread. But wealth, even the illusion of it, looks stable. It looks safe. It looks like a good bet. So resources, opportunities, connections, they all flow toward the appearance of abundance. And they run away from the appearance of need. This is the trap of authenticity. You were told to be yourself. To show your struggles. To be vulnerable. And yes, vulnerability has its place. But not in the arena of first impressions. Not when you are negotiating your value. Not when you are trying to open doors. In those moments, vulnerability is blood in the water. And the sharks will circle. Let me tell you what happens when you look broke in a negotiation. They lowball you. They assume you will take anything because you need it. They squeeze you. They know you have no leverage. But when you look rich, when you look like you have options, they fight for you. They sweeten the deal. They throw in extras you did not ask for. Because they assume that if they do not treat you well, you will walk. And you will take your perceived value somewhere else. Pause. Think about this. How many opportunities did you lose not because you were not good enough? But because you looked like you needed it too much. The prescription. You must manufacture the appearance of abundance. Even when you are scraping by. especially when you are scraping by. This is not about lying. This is about strategic presentation. You invest in the uniform of success. The suit, the shoes, the watch, the haircut, the accessories that signal you are already winning. Because once you look like you are winning, the world starts betting on you. And their bets become your reality. This is the alchemy Machiavelli understood. Appearance transmutes into substance. The illusion becomes the truth because people act on what they see. And their actions create the outcomes. Law 3. The wealthy are forgiven. The poor are punished for the same sins. Now we descend into the darkest layer. The law that will make you angry. The law that reveals just how rigged the game truly is. When a rich man makes a mistake, it is an eccentricity. When a poor man makes the same mistake, it is proof. A wealthy man shows up late to a meeting. They say he must be very busy. Very important. We are lucky he made time for us. A poor man shows up late to a meeting. They say disrespectful. Unreliable. Not serious. Same action. Different costume. A wealthy man speaks bluntly, even rudely. They call him confident. A straight shooter. Refreshingly honest. A poor man speaks the same way. They call him abrasive. Unprofessional. Someone who does not know his place. A wealthy man takes a risk and fails. They say bold vision. Just bad timing. He will bounce back. A poor man takes a risk and fails. They say reckless. Foolish. He should have known better. Since it is difficult to join them together, it is safer to be feared than loved. But Machiavelli also knew this. The prince who has the appearance of power can get away with actions that would destroy a weaker man. The appearance of wealth is the appearance of power. And power bends the rules. Power rewrites the narrative. The world does not judge your actions in a vacuum. It judges them through the lens of who you appear to be. If you appear to be someone of value, your sins are reframed as quirks. But if you appear to be worthless, your sins are magnified. This is why the rich can break social norms and be called innovators. Why they can be rude and be called assertive. Why they can fail and be called resilient. Because the world has already decided they are worth something. So everything they do is interpreted through that frame. But when you look poor, the frame is already negative. So everything you do is filtered through suspicion and judgment. You are guilty by appearance. And every mistake you make is evidence that the world was right about you all along. Let me take you into the legal system. Defendants who appear wealthy, who can afford tailored clothing and expensive lawyers, receive more lenient sentences than defendants accused of the same crime who appear poor. Same crime. Different appearance. Different outcome. The judge looks at the man in the suit and sees potential. Sees someone who made a mistake. Sees someone worth saving. The judge looks at the man in the cheap clothes and sees a pattern. Sees a statistic. Sees someone who was always going to end up here. You think justice is blind. Justice has eyes. And those eyes are trained on surfaces. This is the third law. And it operates in every courtroom, every boardroom, every room where judgments are made about your worth. The wealthy are given grace. The poor are given the gavel. I know this makes you furious. I know you want to scream that this is not how the world should work. You are right. But the world does not care about your should. It only cares about what is. So what do you do with this knowledge? You stop playing the victim. You stop hoping that your inner goodness will be discovered. You stop waiting for fairness. And you start weaponizing appearance. You dress not for the job you have, but for the job you want. Not because it is shallow, but because it is strategic. You dress like someone who has already won so that when you make mistakes, and you will, they are framed as learning experiences instead of proof of failure. You create a buffer of perceived value. And that buffer protects you when you stumble. The poor man has no buffer. Every mistake confirms the world's suspicions. But the rich-looking man has a reservoir of goodwill. A bank account of benefit of the doubt. And he can make 3, 4, 5 mistakes. This is not fair. But fairness is a fairy tale. This is survival. Law 4. Looking rich is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Looking poor is a self-destroying curse. And now we arrive at the final law. The law that closes the loop. The law that turns perception into destiny. When you look rich, people treat you like you are rich. And when people treat you like you are rich, you start to become rich. This is the prophecy. The man who walks into a room looking expensive is offered opportunities. He is introduced to influential people. He is invited to exclusive spaces. He is given insider information. He is offered deals that are not advertised. Why? Because people assume he already has access. They assume he is part of the club. So they treat him like a member. And by treating him like a member, they make him a member. But the man who looks poor? He is excluded. He is not introduced. He is not invited. He is not given the insider track. Because people assume he does not belong. And by assuming he does not belong, they ensure he never does. This is the curse. Poverty of appearance creates poverty of access. And poverty of access creates poverty of outcome. Men nearly always follow the tracks made by others. The world imitates itself. The rich get richer because looking rich opens the doors that make you richer. And the poor stay poor because looking poor closes the doors that would lift you out. You have been trapped in this loop. You could not afford the expensive suit, because you did not have the job. But you could not get the job because you did not have the expensive suit. You could not afford to live in the right neighborhood because you did not have the income. But you could not get the income because you did not have the network, and you could not build the network because you were not in the right neighborhood. This is the wheel. And it crushes millions. But here is the crack in the system. The crack Machiavelli would exploit. You do not need to be rich. You only need to look rich. Because looking rich is enough to start the engine. You invest. You sacrifice. You scrape together enough to build the appearance. The suit. The shoes. The haircut. The accessories. You walk into the room looking like you have already won. And they start treating you like a winner. They open one door. That door leads to a conversation. That conversation leads to an introduction. That introduction leads to an opportunity. That opportunity leads to income. And that income lets you maintain the appearance. Until the appearance is no longer an illusion. Until you have actually built what you were pretending to have. This is not fraud. This is strategy. This is understanding that in a world that judges by appearances, controlling your appearance is controlling your destiny. The man who looks broke will work 3 times as hard, for half the result. Because every door is locked. Every opportunity requires proof. Every relationship requires him to justify his existence. But the man who looks rich? Doors open before he knocks. Opportunities find him. Relationships form effortlessly. Because the world has already decided he is valuable. And in deciding that, they make it true. You know someone who is less talented than you but further ahead. Stop blaming luck. Stop blaming connections. Look at how they present themselves. Look at the costume they wear. That is the variable you have been ignoring. The prescription for this final law is the hardest. Because it requires you to spend money you do not have on something that feels superficial. It requires you to invest in appearance before you invest in comfort. It requires you to look successful before you feel successful. And that feels like lying. But it is not lying. It is speaking the language the world understands. The world does not speak the language of your resume. It speaks the language of visual status. And if you refuse to learn that language, you will spend your life being misunderstood, undervalued, and invisible. Now you see it. The 4 laws. The architecture of the appearance economy. Law 1. The rich are presumed competent. The poor must prove it. Law 2. Resources flow toward abundance and flee from need. Law 3. The wealthy are forgiven. The poor are punished. Law 4. Looking rich creates the reality of being rich. These are not theories. These are the invisible rails that guide every human interaction. You have been riding these rails your entire life without seeing them. But now you see them. And you cannot unsee them. You will walk into a store tomorrow and watch how the salesperson treats the man in the expensive coat versus the man in the sweatpants. You will watch a negotiation and see how the person who looks powerful gets the better deal. You will see job interviews, dinner parties, first dates, all of it filtered through these laws. And you will realize, this has been happening to you. Every single day, you have been paying the appearance tax. And you did not even know it. You might feel anger. Good. Let the anger burn away the naivety. Let it kill the fantasy that the world is a meritocracy. Let it destroy the comforting lie that hard work alone is enough. Because hard work without the uniform of success is invisible labor. It is sweat that no one sees. Effort that no one rewards. But hard work combined with the appearance of success? That is alchemy. That is how you turn lead into gold. Machiavelli would tell you this. Do not fight the nature of man. Use it. The world is shallow. The world judges books by covers. So give them a cover worth opening. Stop resenting the game. Start winning it. You must transition from the invisible worker to the visible player. The invisible worker grinds in silence and wonders why no one notices. The visible player understands that being seen is half the battle. And being seen in the right costume is the entire war. This is your choice. Stay authentic and poor. Or become strategic and free. One path feels moral. The other path works. But here is the final warning. The one I must give you before you walk into this new world. As you start to play the appearance game, as you start to dress the part and open the doors, you will face a question. What if you become the thing you are pretending to be? What if the mask fuses to your face? What if you spend so long performing wealth that you forget who you were before the performance? This is the shadow I cannot fully explore here. The cost of the costume. The price of the illusion. Because once you step into the theater, once you start manipulating perception, you cannot fully step out. You become an actor who forgot they were acting. And that is its own kind of prison. A golden prison. But a prison nonetheless. What if the man you are pretending to be is not the man you want to become? What if the world you are trying to access is not the world that will make you whole? These are questions you will have to face. Alone. In the dark. When the suit comes off, and the mirror reflects something you do not recognize. That is a shadow for another time. But know this. Every power you gain has a weight. And the weight of appearance is the loss of authenticity. You will have to decide. Which death do you prefer? The death of invisibility? Or the death of the self? If this tore apart everything you thought you knew about how the world works, understand something. This is only what I can show publicly. There are layers beneath this. Darker strategies. More dangerous truths. Techniques that I cannot discuss here without being flagged, shadow banned, or deleted. The algorithm does not want you to have this level of clarity. Because clarity is power. And power in the wrong hands, meaning your hands, is a threat to the system. If you are still here, you are not like the others. Most people clicked away in the first 2 minutes. They could not handle the discomfort. They ran back to the fantasy that effort is enough. That kindness is currency. That the world is fair. But you stayed. That tells me something about you. Subscribe if you have not. But if you want access to what I cannot say out loud, if you want the uncensored strategies, the advanced manipulations, the forbidden frameworks, click the join button. Step into the inner sanctum. That is where the real education begins. Most will not. And that is exactly the point. Most will not. And that is exactly the point.